Hello everyone, welcome to my spoiler talk for Iron Man 3, and let's just start off by saying that the Mandarin twist of him just being Trevor Slattery was dumb. I don't hate it, but I think it's a dumb idea. I mean, they kind of fixed it with the one-shot All Hail the King, where they're like, he's not the real Mandarin, and then obviously Shang-Chi in The Legend of the Ten Rings showing us the actual Mandarin. But like, the Mandarin is like the Joker or Venom or Green Goblin for Iron Man. At least that's how people talk about the Mandarin. With him just kind of being a joke, I can understand why Iron Man fans do not like this movie. But I, personally, it did not break it for me. So let's begin this with the opening of the movie where we just see a set of exploding suits and we have Tony basically talking to someone. We learn later on in the movie that it's the Hulk. He's talking to Mark Ruffalo. But we go back because he's like, we got a bunch of exploding suits. Let me tell you how we got here. So we go back to 1999 in Switzerland, where Tony has had a good speech. Apparently, he's also talking to Maya, the girl that is gonna be a villain. And we have Yinsen also walk up. I'm like, hey, Yinsen. So he says that he's gonna go to town on Plaid Girl. Plaid Girl's like, no. But also showing the research. So they leave. Then Killian, who is a nerd, and, Hobbs says like, oh, hey, I would like to offer the woman, Maya, I want to offer her a job at AIM. And to any comic book fan, they already know, like, wait a minute. Those villains, which might also mean that they kind of are somewhat but not really teasing MODOK, but we all know what happened with that. That is where my brain immediately goes, because of the fact that in the animated shows they've always kind of shown MODOK as being the leader of AIM. I don't know if he is, don't read the comics, so I don't know, but we all know what happened with MODOK, and the less we talk about that one the better, shall we? But Tony is then like, hey, I'll meet you on the roof, alright? And then leaves with Plant Girl. He goes back to her apartment, and Happy is just messing around with her flower, and she's talking about extremis because she wants to hack the brain so that the brain can like heal wounds and stuff like that. You know, simple science stuff. You know, any fourth grader can probably figure that one out, right? But because of the fact that Happy is like messing around, the moment that Tony and Maya get together, the plant goes boom because there's a glitch in the system, which is also set up for how later on the explosions happen, where it's like the Mandarin blows everything up, but there's never any evidence, no trace of a bomb, because the humans are the bombs. So, and afterwards Tony goes to town on her, and then solves an equation, and then also on the other side writes, you know who this is, and then leaves. And then in present day, Tony Stark is injecting himself with like something in order to be able to attract his suit to him. Because the problem in the Avengers was he needed to get these bracelets around his arm, and then the suit would deploy, scan his bracelets, and then be able to attach to him. That is a bit of an annoyance. So instead, we're gonna have like injections, so that it's just like always just the DNA. He doesn't specifically need those bracelets. Which I guess kind of goes into the whole... Every time Iron Man appears in a movie, the main suit for the movie is one that fixes a problem from the previous movie. Which I always thought was really cool that they did that little detail in there. So he tries the suit on, and yeah, it doesn't really go as planned, but that's what a test run is for, right? Anyway, after that, we have the fact that the Mandarin appears on the television, and he'll appear on the television throughout the movie, basically making terrorist threats to the United States, a la Osama bin Laden, I guess. I don't know, I wasn't necessarily following news during that time, but kind of like him, I feel like. So he bombs some places, everyone is on high alert, and then we have the entrance of the Iron Patriot, because War Machine got cancelled, sadly enough, which is very sad. Anyway, Tony Stark and Rhodey meet up, and they talk about the Mandarin and stuff like that, and also that's when we fully learn that Tony is officially suffering from PTSD. But Tony and Rhodey start to talk about the fact that it's like, look, the Iron Patriot name is stupid. You should have just been called War Machine. It's way cooler. And also how the Mandarin is happening, but then a couple of kids go up to him, and they're like, there's this cute little girl who's like, can I get an autograph? Tony's like, yeah, sure. He grabs the crayon, he starts writing down. But Rhodey keeps talking, and he starts to have a bit of an anxiety attack. I know I call it PTSD. The movie itself states that it isn't PTSD, but I feel like it's kind of signs of PTSD. But it's more like anxiety, but I think PTSD is easier to say. But he's like just, kind of ruining the picture drawn, which, and then the kid's like, oh, how was the wormhole? Or he either talks about the wormhole or New York, which, you know, is a problem. So Tony goes outside because he's having a panic attack. He gets into the suit. It's like, what's happening? What's happening? And Jarvis is like, yeah, everything's fine. Don't worry about it. I mean, it's probably just you just had a panic attack. You're not poisoned or anything. Don't worry about it. So Tony pieces out, and then we go to Stark Industries, where we have Pepper running the show. And I really like that. I really like Pepper being in charge because I think it fits her very well. And Happy just goes around checking everyone's badges because everyone needs to have a badge because he's now head of security, which is like, good job, Happy. And also Happy later on says that it's because of the fact that being the bodyguard for Iron Man is a laughingstock, so I had to leave while he still had his dignity. However, now he's making everyone uncomfortable, and complaints have gone up by 300%. So good job, Happy. So we have an appointment for Potts, and it's actually Killian, who is now a hot guy. And he shows Pepper his brain and talks about the Extremis Project and how it can recode DNA, stuff like that. Meanwhile, Happy's just calling Tony, being like, hey, you need to come over here because this woman is the best thing that ever happened to you, which, let's be honest here, is the truth. And he doesn't know how technology works, which I also thought was funny. Anyway, afterwards, we have Pepper, who is kind of flustered. That's why I called him the romantic interest. He's the main villain, by the way, of the movie. But I called him the romantic interest because I didn't want to spoil the fact that he was the main villain for anyone, for the two people who haven't seen Iron Man 3 and don't know about the plot twist in that movie. So later on, Pepper goes home, and it's date night. So we got a big, like, bunny outside. And she's like, oh, it's adorable. I don't know. No, cut that adorable part out. And she goes inside, and Tony is in the suit. At least that's what we think. He's in the suit, ready for date night. But apparently the suit is malfunctioning. And she's like, I'll go downstairs and pry that thing open with a crowbar. It's like, don't do that. And then you see Tony just like, I don't know, exercising. And Pepper then gets extremely upset, which, to be honest, normally I would potentially be on Tony's side. However, Tony, this is date night. You can't skip date night. Come on, man. I mean, what they were talking about with, like, Happy being like, look, you are basically throwing this woman away. She's the best thing that ever happened to you. Now I can see what he means. Like, dude, come on, really? And then she talks about Killian, which immediately is like, oh, you're spying on me, which... Hey, now we're back on Tony's side being like, no, Happy called him. And then Tony breaks down about the fact that he's had panic attacks. And I love the way of how supportive she is of him in that sense, where she's basically she just hugs him. And it's like, it's basically kind of like, you know, letting him know that it's going to be all right. Don't worry about it. And then later she's like, all right, I'm going to take a shower. And he's like, all right, fine. And then she's like, you're coming with me. He's like, a better idea. I was like, all right, cool. Then at night, we have Pepper and Tony sleeping. And Tony is having, once again, panic attacks. We get a couple of flashbacks to the Avengers, which was nice. And then Pepper gets attacked by one of Tony Stark's suits. And he's like, I must have called it in my sleep. And then Pepper's like, look, I'm sleeping downstairs. I don't care. Which is actually kind of funny because normally the guy has to sleep on the couch. So it's kind of funny that she has to sleep on the couch. I don't know. Tony's rich. He might just have another bedroom downstairs. For all I know. I don't know if he does. He used to be a playboy guy. So maybe, you know, going upstairs was a bit too far. So he went over to, so he has a bedroom downstairs as well. Who's to say? Meanwhile, I guess while that is happening, because it kind of still seems nighttime, Happy is following the henchman, to this, it's in New York, but I forgot what it was called. It's like this Chinese thing. Anyway, there we have the henchman meeting up with another guy and giving him a briefcase. Meanwhile, Happy is trying out glasses while also spying. But let's be honest here, Happy was probably just there for the glasses. And Happy then afterwards, after the dude gets it and walks away, he bumps into the guy and it's like, oh, sorry, here, let me help you. And then afterwards, he bumps into the goon, and the goon's like, hey, you! And then it's like, yeah, your party's over. And he pulls it out and shows it. I'm like, what kind of stupid... How stupid are you? Don't become a big guy now, okay? Don't have an ego, be Happy. You shouldn't have said anything, and everything could have been fine. However, this needed to happen. So, the two of them have a little bit of a fight, and what I mean by that is that Happy gets thrown into a display stand or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, afterwards, the dude is like, oh, help me, and then blows up because he's one of the extremist guys. Which is actually funny because the extremist part comes back in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But at the time of recording, I do not know if that is canon yet. So, Happy lands in the hospital because I guess he was 13 yards away, because it stated that like 12 yards you're immediately incinerated. It's incinerated, so. But he's in the hospital. Tony is there. He's like, hey, leave that on. Also, make sure that everyone has their badges because he's a kind of a stickler for it. And also, you won't get in here unless you have a badge because my guys are pretty tough on that. And then he goes home and he tries to figure out what happened. He basically hacks in all databases in order to be able to get all the info that he needs. He basically reconstructs everything and he can't really figure it out. And he's like, Happy, help me. And when Happy actually got attacked, also, by the way, the hench goon got hit by the blast well, but is regenerating because of Extremis. And Happy is pointing to a dog tag, and Tony picks it up and sees the dog tag, and then kind of does really nothing with it, but then has another idea, and it's like, wait, do you have, all right, in the last year, or I think it says in the last year, pull up all of the places around the world where an explosion has happened. That is over at least, like, I don't know, 1,000 degrees Celsius. So everything gets pulled up. And then it's like, all right, take everything away where there was a Mandarin attack. And then one place remains. So he's like, all right, set a course for Tennessee. Also, when he was, I forgot to talk about this. When he was leaving the hospital, there's a guy who was like, oh, when are you gonna kill the Mandarin? So Tony basically tells the Mandarin, like, hey, this is where I live. Come and get me. And basically pulls down his pants and starts shaking his bummy. So afterwards, we have a ding-dong that happens. It's like, what? Ding-dong? What? Alright? I just threatened a terrorist. We should not be on ding-dong. We should be on high alert. So Tony goes to the door in Iron Man suit. And then we have Maya who walks in. And she's like, yeah, you probably don't remember me. Tony's like, no, but also, yes, I do remember you. But also, I don't really remember you. And then Tony's like, yeah, hey, you don't have a 12-year-old in the car, right? And she's like, he's 13. It's like, oh, it's like, I'm joking, but yeah, we need to go to a safe place in order to, we need to get to a more discreet location. And he's like, look, I'm in a very happy or committed relationship. And then 2 bags fall down with her, actually. And then Pepper and Tony have a little bit of an argument because Pepper and Maya are like, we should go. And Tony's like, no, you should stay here because this is where I can protect you. Meanwhile, then Maya kind of gets booted. And it's like, hey, this doesn't concern you. This is an argument between me and my girlfriend, okay? Doesn't concern you. So she looks at the television and Tony Stark's mansion is on television. It's like, and she's like, hey, guys, should we be concerned about that? There's a missile just heading for the building. And it blows up. And now we have basically that trailer shot where the whole basically mansion of Tony just gets destroyed. So Tony makes his first priority saving Pepper, so he basically directs his armor to Pepper in order to protect her. Then she protects him, which I love that stuff. I like Pepper, what can I say? Look, whatever your opinion on Gwyneth Paltrow is, I don't really care. She's really good as Pepper Potts, and Pepper Potts is written very well in this movie. So she basically protects him, he protects her, kind of thing. It's like, I saved you. He's like, I saved you first. And then Tony's like, all right, you. Get out of here, grab her, and go, okay? I'll find another way around. So they go outside, and Tony is just, like, trying to survive the onslaught that he's experiencing at the moment with his building just falling apart. And then at that one point, Jarvis is like, all right, hey, Miss Potts is safe. All right, and then he drags the suit back to him. And then Iron Man is back, but look, Iron Man can easily take care of these guys. So we need a way for him not to be able to. So we're just gonna say that the Mark 42 is too new, so it's not really up to date. And that's the only way we can have Iron Man officially lose, is if we have that happen. Because otherwise, Iron Man would have just flown up and just like blown them all up. No questions asked, no problem at all. But we can't do that, okay? Iron Man needs to lose, so we're gonna have Iron Man lose. So Iron Man has issues with it. I mean, he is pretty creative. His piano starts to fall down, and he just blasts it to a helicopter and destroys one with it. He grabs a missile out of his arm. That, you know, like the missile launch, I guess, is jammed. So he just, like, breaks it open, grabs the missile, throws it, and blasts it with his hand cannon, I guess, and blows up another one. And he's like, all right, that's 2. One more to go. And then the second helicopter just flies towards him when it's falling down. And then Tony gets trapped underwater, and then the suit saves him. Or Jarvis saves him and then flies him away, which made me go, how? How do you not notice that Iron Man just comes out of the water? But I guess because of the fact that all the rubble has created a big smoke cloud, that's how he's able to escape. So we have a bit of a beeping noise. Jarvis wakes Tony up. Tony's like, 5 more minutes. Like, that's not the alarm. That means we're not out of power. So he falls down basically in the middle of nowhere. And Tony's like, where are we? It's like, Tennessee. That was the last flight plan that you told me to go to Tennessee. So here we are. I'm in Tennessee. So Tony's like, all right, get me out of this suit. He gets out of the suit. He's like, oh, it's cold. Maybe I'll cozy back up in the suit. Then Jarvis like, I'm a bit tired. So basically now Tony has to drag the suit with him. So he steals a something off a poncho off an Indian, wooden Indian man. He calls Pepper on a very secure line, which you're lucky that Pepper picked up the helmet and looked inside of it in order to receive that message. Now he's like, Pepper, I know I got a lot of things to make up for and not a lot of time. Also, I'm sorry for everything, but I can't come back yet. I gotta stop the Mandarin, alright? I gotta take him out, then I'll be back. This is what I meant, where the Mandarin really did feel like a threat. And then the switch up happens, like you ruin it. So Tony breaks into some random person's garage in order to fix up, but then a kid walks in with this like potato gun, and then the kid shoots a potato in order to be able to as a warning shot, but that's the only potato he has. And the kid Tony is just like, you know, I'm Tony, you know, it's like Iron Man. I am Iron Man. And the kid's like, well, you're dead. It's like, wait a minute, hold the funny. So you knew that was Tony Stark, but also you didn't? What do you mean? That's a bit of a weird one, because the kid is like, who are you? And when he says who he is, he has a newspaper with him that says he's dead. It's like, what? But you knew who he was at that point. Ugh, whatever. Anyway, so Tony and this kid will basically fix up the suit. No, cut that. So now Tony needs a couple of things from the kid, and in return, he gives the kid a thing in order to stop bullies, which will come into play later. So now it's all up to fix the suit. We have to fix the suit. So they go into town in order to get a couple of things. They also have a watch, which is a limited edition, by the way. Limited edition, shall not break. We can't break a limited edition watch. But he eventually goes to the location where the explosion happened. And it's like, alright, so 6 people died here. One of them was the bomber, quote unquote. But there are only 5 shadows. And then the kid's like, yeah, but that's because the people here believe that if you go to heaven, you get a shadow. If you go to hell, you don't get a shadow. So the kid, the bomber, wasn't a good person because he bombed everyone, meaning he doesn't have a shadow. But the real truth is, it's because the dude was the bomb. So that's why he doesn't have a shadow. So then Tony has another panic attack, and then later on asks the kid where the mother is of the girlfriend or wife or whatever. You know, where's Mrs. Davis? So he goes over to her, he sits down, and he talks to her, and she's like, here's your file. And it's like, oh, I don't think I'm supposed to be the one who met you. I don't think I'm the one you were supposed to meet here. Also, your son didn't kill himself, alright? He was used by other people to do it. He is not a bad person. And then we have this lady cop who is an extremist goon, I guess. And now we have Tony versus her and also the goon from the main goon that we have in the movie. And I like how Tony just runs away. He tries to choke her with his cuffs, because he gets cuffed by her. So he tries to choke her, but because she heats up, she breaks the cuffs, and he just gets out. I like that. It wasn't intentional, but it helped him, so I like that. But he eventually just like he makes a firewall so she can't enter. At least that's what he thinks. And then he puts like metal in the microwave, which means it's gonna explode. And he also lets loose some gas so that the explosion will be real big. I like how you see her later on the electricity lines. I thought that was funny. But now we got the other goon to take care of, and he basically stops Tony with water, and then he has the kid, and then the kid flashes him. Not like that, you disgusting freak. And then Tony blasts the dude, then gets out, grabs the file, and grabs the dude's car keys, grabs the file, and drives off. And the kid is like, oh, we're connected. And then the kid wants to go, so it's like, I'm cold. It's like, do you know how I know that? Because we're connected. Drives off. I thought that was a fun interaction that I just butchered, but still, it's a fun interaction. Meanwhile, during this, we have Pepper also questioning Maya, like, why were you here? And she's like, well, because I think my boss works for the Mandarin. Alright, who's your boss? Aldrich Killian? It's like, oh. So now we go back to the Mandarin, now that we know all the pieces, kind of. So we have Killian who walks up to who's like, alright everyone, don't look him in the eyes unless you want a bullet in the head. And because I know the spoiler, I was like, from him, by the way, he'll shoot you in the head. So basically the Mandarin kills a guy from Roxxon unless the president calls him. So the president calls him, which I guess they need in order to find his location for later on in the movie. So the president calls him, and then the Mandarin still shoots the guy. However, throughout this whole movie, Trevor thinks that is all a prop. This man has been murdering people left and right, but it's all been... So, they try to trace the broadcast signal, and they sent Iron Patriot over there, which it feels wrong to say. They sent Rhodey over there, and it turns out it was the wrong place. So Tony calls Rhodey at that point, and it's like, hey, man, this would have been really good, by the way, for a, if I had a sponsorship, I don't know, ExpressVPN or something like that, NordVPN, whatever VPN. If I was popular enough, big enough, I could have had a sponsor right here. And that's why I use Express. Oh, man. Maybe one day I'll be able to be that clever or good, but we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, so Tony calls Rhodey and asks for his login details. Also says, like, last time I was missing, you search high and low for me, which is a reference to Iron Man 1. So why aren't you this time? Rhodey doesn't really answer him, but he needs his login, which I like how the password is War Machine Rocks with an X. So Tony goes over to this TV van in order to get everything, but then a dude opens up the back of the van and is like, hey man, I don't know who you are, and then Tony turns around and he just starts a fanboy, and I was like, wait a minute, this man looks familiar. So I look it up, and it's Wade Whipple from the Sonic movies. Oh my god, it is him. I had a feeling it was him. He doesn't really look it, but the voice. It was the voice that kind of gave it away. And with how stupid he kind of acted, I was like, it's Wade from... So this was what he was doing before he worked at Green Hills' sheriff department. He was a TV guy. I just thought that was funny. I actually wrote that in my notes in order to actually mention it. Wade fanboys over Tony Stark. But anyway, then Tony's like, alright, we're all both a little bit excited, but I need Gary, or Wade. I'm just gonna call him Wade. I need Wade, okay? I need to climb to the top of this van and give me a better output for internet access. So Wade does that. Like I said, I'm just gonna call him Wade. I know in the movie his name is Gary. I don't care. His name is Wade Whipple. So he goes up to the van and does that stuff. Tony, and then he like hits the van. Tony hits it back. Like, alright, message understood. So Tony uses the login in order to find videos, which is kind of funny because they have so much, like S.H.I.E.L.D. and stuff like that have so many videos on the whole Extremis project, but they can't link one and one together. Alright, but Tony's immediately like, so that's how they're doing it. The bombs aren't bombs. They're people. Used as bombs. I like that Tony figures that out. And afterwards, we have Pepper and Maya talking, and then Aldrich, and then they get room service, and then from the corner, Aldrich Scalia just walks up, snaps the dude's neck, and I was like, was that necessary? That's so much violence. And then we learned that Maya is not actually afraid of everything, and that she works for Killian and is still on his side. So now Pepper has been caught. This might be a Daisy moment, but trust me, we'll get there. Because it's not. So, Tony is driving back. He looks through the file. He learns that it's AIM and stuff like that. And everything kind of starts to make a little bit more sense. And he calls the kid. And the kid is like, look, the suit is empowering, which causes Tony to have another panic attack. And then the kid smartly actually uses Tony's best quality against him in order to kind of snap him out of it. Because it's like, why don't you just build weapons and storm it? Because Tony's like, I need that suit in order to attack the Mandarin. It's like, why don't you just build weapons? It's like, oh, yeah, I could do that too. So Tony drives off, grabs a couple of carts full of stuff, and he pays for that, which is like, do you have your credit card with you? Like, how are you paying for that stuff? Do you always have your credit card with you? Because you were at home. You were not expected to leave. But whatever, let's say he has his credit card with him. I mean, it doesn't really matter. The bad guys already know Tony's alive. Meanwhile, the Iron Patriot once again gets sent to another location in order to see if the Mandarin is there. And it turns out the Mandarin is not there. And then he gets captured because he was lured over there. Because they need the Iron Patriot suit. So his suit gets basically disabled. And also, I find it really ironic how many people in the MCU can actually work with Stark tech. I find it weird. Like, Tony Stark's tech is supposed to be unhackable. Yet, they're able to make it, like, the bad guy can get into the suit, fly all the way to the president, kidnap him, and fly the president back with Stark tech. You would think that there would be some kind of safety procedure built into the suit. Anyway, so Tony attacks the stronghold, takes out all the bad guys, which I thought was way too easy. Now, he just comes in, he takes out a couple of guys. It's like, aren't these supposed to be, like, specially trained? Anyway, then he sees a drugged out girl, I guess, on the couch. And then he goes into the room where where Mandarin is supposed to be. And he lifts up the bed sheets. And then he sees two girls. And then Trevor comes out of the bathroom. And Tony holds a gun to him and is like, where's the Mandarin? And plays it all serious like. And it's like, the Mandarin is not real. I'm playing him. I'm an actor. Alright, I was a drug addict. And then they approached me and they helped to get off the drugs. No, they gave me more, which I like that. But it's basically done for comedy purposes. But it's like, I can see why people hate this. But I wasn't necessarily too bothered by it, because the movie around it, I really like. It's just that part I don't like. So that is why it's not like a 10 out of 10 movie. If they did the Mandarin right, easy 10 out of 10. But I guess this is kind of like a Shane Black type of thing. So he learns the truth about everything, and then he gets caught. And then Tony is captured. He sees Maya. He tries to talk her out of this, where it's like, look, the woman that I like has a soul, and I know you has a soul as well, okay? And then Killian walks in and is just like, yeah, no, I'm the main bad guy. By the way, hi, how you doing? And Maya's like, I'm gonna kill myself if you don't stop. And then he kills her instead. It's like, whatever, get her out of the movie. So now the bad guys roast Rhodey out of the suit. And then the one henchman guy, the main henchman guy, apparently knows how to work Stark Deck, which, please answer me that question. That's a big riddle. So Tony is strapped to something. I think it's like a bed, but whatever. But he gets he's basically caught. I got two hench guys right there. And then he's like, I'm in 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. I'm gonna stop you. You better run. And they're like, ooh, we're so scared. And afterwards, later on, is when part of his suit arrives. And then the kid just blows open the garage door. And then the rest of the suits go. Which makes me go, how can a wooden door stop the Iron Man suits? I'm sorry, but I feel like that the Iron Man suit pieces would have created holes in that thing. Also, there's a window over there. You really don't think that they... Whatever. So Tony basically gets his whole suit. He sees the Iron Patriot fly off. He calls Rhodey and is like, hey, is that you? And Rhodey's like, nah, it ain't me. Alright, let's meet up at this place. So they go there, and then they learn, and then Rhodey learns the truth about the Mandarin, and now they gotta stop because of the fact that they're going after the president. So they get on a boat, and they call the vice president in order to give him the warning. Tony calls him and is like, hey, yeah, the president is in danger. It's like, don't worry about it. Vice president's like, who cares? Doesn't really matter. I mean, the Iron Patriot is right there, alright? He'll protect the president. And then Rhodey's like, no, he ain't, because I'm right here. It's like, I'll make sure to do whatever I can in order to help. Don't worry, boys. Hangs up. The security guy's like, well, what was that? He was like, there's nothing. And then he walks over to this little girl, which I can only assume is his daughter, or maybe his niece, or maybe with his age, his granddaughter. I don't know. But it then zooms to her leg, and she's missing a leg. And it's like, oh. So he's working for the bad guys in order to give the little girl a leg. Gotcha. So Tony's suit, no. So Iron Man goes off to save the president. Meanwhile, on the Air Force One, we have the bad guy who basically locks everyone in a room and then kills a couple of guys and then takes the president. But the president gets put into the suit and the suit flies off on its own, which is like, there's no protocols for that one, huh? Okay, kind of weird. So Tony arrives and he wants to stop it, but he fights with the main goon and then eventually blows a hole in his chest, which I kind of find funny because, really? That does it? That doesn't get regenerated? Alright. But then the dude also blew up part of it and part of the plane where most of the alive people are. So they all go flying out and we get the... this was either a preview scene that they showed off, or this was the in the trailer. But we have the fact that the 12 people are falling. We need to save them. So everyone needs to grab onto everyone. Now, realistically, they'd be dead before they hit the ground. Let's be honest here. If you fall from that high, the fall will kill you. It's not the smashing on the floor or in the water that kills you. It's the actual fall that probably will kill you. Now, I'm not the kind of person who knows that kind of stuff, but I would assume it's the fall that kills, not the impact itself. Or maybe I'm just making myself look very stupid at the moment, which is also an entirely possibility. Comment down below. Can people actually survive that big of a fall? Like, if you jump out of a helicopter, would you die when you hit the water, or would you die before you hit the water? Like, the falling is what kills you. But anyway, they grab everyone, and then Tony saves them all by dropping them in the water, but then safely. And it's like, alright, let's stop the Mandarin, and flies off, and then a truck comes in and hits him. And then turns out Tony was still on the ship, and he was using kind of remote control. So then we have the fact that the president has been brought to this old rock someplace, and the main villain is just, and then Killian is like, yeah, you remember this spill which, you know, ruined the planet, but you were able to get all those rich people off the hook without any issues whatsoever. Yeah, good times, good times. That is the main reason I'm doing this, but also it's because of the fact that I have another guy lined up, aka the vice president, to take your place. So no problem at all. We're just gonna make this look like a big Mandarin stunt and kill you. And this is where the main party happens. So Rhodey is like, we need some backup, and then Tony's like, all right, yeah, do the protocol for it. And then while we see cleaners cleaning up Tony Stark's place that got blown up, and then the place opens up, and then Iron Man suits start flying out. So we get to the main bad guys' location. Rhodey and Tony infiltrate this place. Then Rhodey's like, you cover my 6. And you can see that Tony isn't good at this kind of stuff. So they get shot at. And then Tony tries to shoot the bulb. And it doesn't work. He's like, you can't hit a bulb at this distance. So Rhodey hits the bulb at this distance because he's a military man. Tony is not. He hits the bulb. And there you go. Done. Easy. So it's like Tony goes up and down in order to see how many people there are. And he's like, it was too fast. I couldn't see. So then he looks and it's like, it's a couple of people. So Rhodey looks up and it's like, oh, it's everyone. And then the Iron Man suits arrive. And now we have the big final battle with all the Iron Man suits. Also, we got Metalhead from Ninja Turtles making a cameo appearance. Very nice. And that's basically the final part of the movie, where we basically just have Extremis goons versus Iron Man suits, which I actually really liked. I love us to see all the different Iron Man suits, the way that they're used differently. Yeah, you got one suit that just splits apart and just hits someone. You got another one that has like blades. You got one that has like, you know, like big pile drivers kind of thing. You get all these different suits. I like that personally. So while we have the battle going on, we have Rhodey who needs to go because Tony gets one of the suits. Alright, then Rhodey's like, alright, give me one of them suits. It's like, yeah, sorry, they're only coded to me. So Tony goes to save Pepper while Rhodey goes to save the president. So Tony arrives where Pepper is, and yeah, because of all the stuff that has happened, there's some debris on her. So Tony tries to lift the debris and she's like, no, don't do that. And then he tries to grab her, and then Killian appears and it's like, is this guy bothering you? And then we have basically a final fight between the two of them, and Pepper seemingly dies as well, and it's very sad, but not really. I gotta kill off Pepper Potts. I mean, the movie did make it out to be that case where they're gonna kill Pepper, because it's like, the one thing I can't lose is you. And, well, here you go. Now you're gonna lose that one. But they kind of kill her off, so Tony goes on a revenge kind of against Killian. Uses different suits in order to attack him, until Killian basically kind of gets the upper hand. But then Tony throws his suit, Mark 42 comes back. And then he's like, the prodigal son returns. But it just falls immediately to pieces, so that's great. And then he attaches the Mark 42 to Killian and blows it up. And then gets away. But Killian is not dead yet. And then Killian is like, I am the Mandarin. And then he gets hit, and we see Pepper, and it's like, yay, Pepper, because obviously she ain't dead. She got the Extremis part in her. And she grabs, like, one of the Iron Man suits attacks Pepper because she is very hot. Not like that, but also kind of like that, but not like that. So that suit attacks her, and then she just like does this like really cool move, which she just punches through it and does like a backflip or whatever. And I'm like, how did you, whatever. How did you learn that? Who taught you how to make them moves? Meanwhile, we have the fact that Rhodey saves the president and gets his suit back, and I think he goes after Extremis people. I forgot what Rhodey did, but because the other stuff is more important. But we have Pepper then kind of comes to her sense, like, oh my god, what happened? Who's the hot mess now? And Tony's like, that's debatable, but it's leaning more in your favor. And so the day is saved by Pepper Potts. So then Tony destroys all of his suits right there. He blows them all up. He's like, I'm done with that part of my life. Now I'm gonna use Iron Man more sparingly in that sense. It's not gonna be my main focus, but it is still gonna be there. Because I've seen people also say in Age of Ultron, like, why is Iron Man back? When in Iron Man 3, it kind of felt like he was leaving that past behind. When literally at the end of the movie, I mean, that was mainly the pitch meeting, but by the end of the movie, he's like, I am Iron Man. So he never was gonna quit as Iron Man. That's kind of weird. It's just like he's starting the next chapter of his life. Iron Man's still gonna be part of that, but he's not gonna obsess about making suits. Anyway, Tony knows how to fix Pepper, so he does that. And also, he's like, why stop there? So he gets the doctors to get the scrapple out of his heart. And there you go. The day is saved. Everything is good. And roll credits. We're done here. And then at the post-credit scene, we have the fact that Tony is saying all this stuff to Bruce Banner. Bruce Banner fell asleep during the Switzerland part. And that's the movie. Overall, I thought the movie was great. But the Mandarin plot twist, I absolutely did not like. But outside of that, the movie is really great. It's great for Tony Stark, but with the Mandarin, it is a shame. I mean, I'm less hated towards it right now because of the fact that the one-shot happened, and then Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings happened. So it's like we still got the Mandarin at the very least. So, and if you did, please like button, subscribe if you're new, if you've done so already, turn on notifications. Don't forget to check out the Let's Play channel, link in the description and at the end of the video. So I'll see you guys next time. It is MCU review saga for my review of Thor: The Dark World. Bye.